Welcome to this video where I'm going to go over my most profitable day trading and swing trading strategy that I use in all markets, Forex, stocks, and crypto. Let's begin with a simple version of the pattern. The pattern is called a symmetrical triangle, where we have two lines converging at very equal slopes. What usually happens between a symmetrical triangle is price will begin to converge. We'll begin with a high bounce. The bounce will get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until we converge in this last third of the triangle called the apex. Let's write that down, apex. So this here is the apex of the triangle and it occurs in the last third. This is where we're actually waiting for a breakout to happen in a symmetrical triangle. Price will bounce between these prices, converge, 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 and as they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller, right there, it's basically like a spring. You're thinking about compressing a spring, compressing a spring, compressing a spring. Right when you've compressed it at the most amount, it's also got its most potential. And as soon as you let go, the spring just absolutely bounces. And that's what happens with price. We really expect a really quick push up or push down. Now with the symmetrical triangle, it is quite a 50-50 pattern. If you've had no big bullish moves and no big bearish moves as of recent, it actually is a 50% pattern to break to the upside and a 50% pattern to break to the downside. What I find fantastic about symmetrical triangles as they are very easy to spot on the chart, and it's very easy to know that once you're waiting for the spring to coil, you're waiting for a big move and you can just wait for the pattern to unfold and wait for a profitable move in the direction before taking the trade too early and not anticipating the move perfectly. Let's say in this instance, we were going to take a short because price began to dip down, dip down, dip down. Where would we take our stop loss? Our stop loss would go right above this swing high here. If we were to take a short, this is where my stop loss would be. My entry point would be somewhere in here. Let's say I got an entry point once we broke the first. So we got an entry point in here. Then where would be my stop loss? Where is my take profit? Take profit is easy to calculate. You go from the top of the beginning of the triangle to the bottom of the triangle. We basically got the thickest part of the triangle over here. Basically got this thick part, not this thin part over here. We get this, we add it to the apex of the triangle here, and now we've got a rough move as to where I'm going to take my profit. You can see here we've got our stop loss here, we've got our entry target here, and we've got our take profit there. We can instantly set up a trade, put our stop loss, put our take profit, and see this is quite a good trade at 1.8 risk to reward. I do prefer trades that are closer to 2 to 3% risk to reward, but this is a perfect trade. Let's show you on the chart. One last thing I want to mention just before we move on is that a symmetrical triangle can actually become a 60 to a 75% winning probability pattern if you find it in the correct setup. And what do I mean by the correct setup? If we had a symmetrical triangle and all of our previous price action was down, we've been trading down, and then we came into this symmetrical triangle here. And a lot of this action was to the downside. Now this symmetrical triangle here, if this was a price action that came into the symmetrical triangle, it's not actually a 50-50 pattern. It's actually closer to 70%. Because we've had a lot of bearish news, it's actually going to turn into a final flag symmetrical triangle, where this is going to be the final flag to the downside because we get a symmetrical triangle late in the pattern that forms what you would expect to be a 50-50 move, but it's actually a 75% move to the downside and is a great profit potential trade. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Here, can you notice a symmetrical triangle pattern? I definitely can. Let's draw it in. We begin with the bottom line, connect it through, and we begin with the top line and connect this through. Symmetrical triangle pattern. Connect that through there and connect this there. Not exactly perfect, but you want to start with the points and put them through all these upper points and through these lower points. You can see we have a lot of lines of confluence. Now, where's the apex of the triangle? That's the beginning of the triangle. That's the first third. That's the second third. This is the last third. So you can see that again, the trading pattern held up. We began to spring out in the last third of this triangle. Now let's scroll out and actually see the price action. Look at this price action that comes into this triangle. Very, very bearish. We've had a massive move to the downside, a slight push up, and another massive move to the downside. Let's see from the top here to the beginning of this triangle, how much are we actually down? From the top here to the beginning of this triangle, we're down 56%. So you can easily see instantly that we're in a bearish cycle, and this symmetrical triangle pattern most probably won't be a 50-50 probability. Reason being is because look to the left and see what's happening. If we had the complete opposite, where we had this massive push, and then we got a symmetrical triangle up here, it would be the exact opposite. We would have a 75% chance breaking to the upside, and that being the final move before we collapse down. Now, this is the exact thing that's happening. We're having a massive bearish move. Because of that bearish move, we're getting a symmetrical triangle. It's closer to 65, actually 75% chance that we are going to break down. And look what happened. Massive breakdown. After we got into the last third apex of the triangle, we had a massive breakdown, and we actually dropped 51% in just a couple of days. What a fantastic trade to see if you're able to see that. Wow. And you could have seen, I saw this days before it actually happened. You could begin this triangle. Once you see this touch here and this touch here, you go, wow, it's actually converging as a triangle. Price is actually getting smaller. It starts thicker and it's really getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And you can see in here, price is barely moving. It's like a spring. Spring, ready to explode. And as soon as it explodes, bang, we move 50% in 2 or 3 days. What a fantastic trade. If you added any leverage to that, you'd be making money through the roof. And if you didn't add any leverage to that, you'd still be making a crazy percentage on your overall profit portfolio. That's the main point here, is finding a symmetrical triangle in the right setup, pushing your probability further than 50-50, closer to 75-25, and actually making a good profit and a good risk to reward from this trade. Now let's go over, if I had to take, if I was to take this trade, say I got into my trade in here, that was my entry point of my trade. Where would I put my stop loss? My stop loss has to go above the last swing high. Last swing high was here. Bang, that's my stop loss. Instantly can start building a position. So let's get this short to long. That's where I entered. That's where my stop loss is. And now let's try and find a profit potential. As I was saying before, we can do this as one profit target, but again, it's not as accurate, but it can just give you a great profit. You start off with the trade and you think, okay, yep, we can change it out to here, and you'll see that we don't get a crazy risk to reward. We actually get a 1-to-1 risk to reward. Watch the price action and see how it unfolds. You can see once we get into this area here, we're not really ready to drop. I can actually make a 1-to-1 measured move. Copy that down and actually push that there. Now that's my profit target. Once I've seen this move in here, I'm using my symmetrical triangle, but I'm also using all my other strategies that I use. 1-to-1 measured move triangle, 1-to-1 measured move cycle. I'm also using my three bar bull bear wedge here to decide, yep, ready to go long. Yep, that's a great short, and where we're going next. Just one final note I want to leave with you guys is once the symmetrical triangle breaks down and moves 50% away from where it actually began, a very common strategy is actually to retest this apex of the triangle. Because we had a massive breakdown, this 1700 area on Ethereum really hasn't been tested by price yet. And what we are expecting is here is this 3-push wedge is to hold, big push, and expecting to retest this apex. And what price will do is actually poke through this apex, and you'll see that it'll actually drop. It'll begin to drop, and it'll actually be a great shorting opportunity, long up to the apex and short off of the apex. Stay tuned, because I'm going to be showing all of these trades as they plan out over the next few weeks and show you exactly how I'm trading them. If you'd like to learn more about trading, I have a 7-hour trading course on Skillshare that you should check out. And I'm also creating a how-to cryptocurrency guide from beginners to advanced traders. If you'd like to sign up with Bybit and get over $4,000 in trading bonuses, check out the description box below. Thanks for watching.